Welcome to this video. It's a while since I've posted and it's been great to hear from some of you since my last video. As you can see, I'm here in Murano, just outside of Venice. It's a small island next to Venice. It's a bit more tranquil than Venice, although you'll hear Vaporetto and speedboats going past. So I hope it doesn't diminish the sound quality too much. Murano is a really nice island. You may have heard of it for its glass production. It's the kind of place that most people stay in Venice and then get the Vaporetto across to for the day. I'm actually staying here and then going across into Venice a bit later, doing the opposite. It's quite a nice place to stay. Quite some different photo opportunities here compared to Venice. Since I last posted, a lot's happened in the Nikon mirrorless world. I obviously got my Z6 and Z7 back in 2018 when they were first released, 5 years ago now. And one of the reasons I've been a Nikon user over the years is that Nikon have a tradition of upgrading steadily their cameras, their lenses, which means that when you buy a camera and you buy into the Nikon system, the Z system as I am, actually you don't have to upgrade that often. You can gradually upgrade different parts of your kit. You can upgrade the firmware. However, a couple of years after I got my Z6 and Z7, Nikon obviously released the Z6 II and Z7 II with dual processors, dual card slots, 4K 60 frames per second capability. For me, it wasn't enough of a change that meant I had to change my kit. And I'm still using my Z6 and Z7 quite happily. However, if you were perhaps looking to transition from the D850 or something similar, then the Z6 II, Z7 II would have been a great opportunity to move across into the mirrorless ecosystem. But as you know, for many of us, specs aren't the only thing. They're the headlines. They're quite interesting. You have to consider the outcomes, the images you can capture, the videos you can capture. And that requires looking at the end-to-end processing life cycle from capture through processing to transmission. And there are so many different components and opportunities in the modern digital photography ecosystem. There's quite a lot of movement with the role of generative AI in processing software, the role of AI in smartphones, and enhancing what you can do with small sensors. So there's a lot going on, and you have to consider that end-to-end life cycle. Like many of you, I've been playing with some of the generative AI technology that's being put into the likes of the Adobe Lightroom and Photoshop. And I'll be doing some videos on my thoughts on that. It'll be interesting to see how that gels with what your thoughts are. Obviously, one of the bigger things that Nikon has done over the last 5 years, in the last year or so, was the release of the Z9. Quite a bold move in that it was one of the first mirrorless cameras to do away with the mechanical shutter and just rely on that electronic shutter. Again, it's a great camera. It's got some great specs. However, for me, I don't need a vertical grip, and the larger battery, I'm surviving quite well with the EL15 batteries in my Z6 and Z7. And therefore, the cost of upgrade, the increased size and weight, for me, really tipped it in favor of continuing to use my Z6 and Z7. However, with the release of the Z8, which has the vast majority of the capabilities of the Z9, but in that smaller body, it's got me thinking. I loved my D850. It was one of the best cameras I've owned. It really felt right in the hand. The balance was right. It was the most polished of that 8 series cameras. It had backlit buttons. It had a great sensor. It felt right in the hand. And therefore, if the Z8 is a bit of a D850 of the Z range, then that may be an opportunity and has given me food for thought. There are some advantages that I see, with the XP7 processor, the autofocus capability seems to be back up with that D850 with 3D autofocus in stills and subject tracking in video. The sensor shield may seem like a small thing, but one of the things I find with my Z6 and Z7 is I'm constantly having to clean the sensor. And anything that just dials that down and saves me a bit of time there could be quite useful. Also, does it feel like the D850? It's heavier, it's slightly bigger, but if it feels right in the hand, one of the things I found with the D850 was, despite its size, actually it was really comfortable to use and to hold, even with larger lenses. So if the Z8 is like that, that could be a real opportunity and outweigh that increase in size and weight. Equally, the other thing that is a slight disappointment with the Z8 is it doesn't have GPS. As someone who uses my cameras for travel, knowing where I took the shots is really useful. I know you can do it with the Nikon app on your smartphone, but I found it tends to run the battery down on your smartphone and didn't quite work to the level that I was looking for it to work. There are also some question marks I've got with the Z8. The role of settings banks versus the user settings. In the Z series, the Z6 and Z7, we've got the U1, 2, 3 settings. In my old D850, we had the settings banks. I can use either, but it would be interesting to see which I prefer. And is it possible, is it easy to mix and match between the two systems? Equally, 8K video, it's not something that I particularly need. It puts quite a burden on your processing life cycle, but there are some situations where it could be quite useful. The viewfinder, I haven't had a problem with the Z6 and Z7 viewfinders, but is the Z8 viewfinder noticeably better in certain situations? And then the USB-C ability to charge the phone. I've got an AC adapter for my Z6 and Z7 that I use when I'm in a studio type environment. However, is there an opportunity or a benefit from being able to recharge the Z8 whilst out traveling from a power bank, for example, through USB-C? So quite a few things to think about. I've got an opportunity to have a try with a Z8 over the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to be having a play with it, seeing what I think about it, how it might fit into my camera bag. Be interesting to know in the comments below, what are you thinking? Are you looking to trade up into a Z8 or across into a Z8? Equally, what do you think I should do? Should I trade my Z6, which I predominantly use for video, for a Z8? Or should I trade my Z7, which I use predominantly for stills, for a Z8? Or should I, keep both, or just take a Z8? Or, there's lots of different options. I could just keep my Z6 and Z7. I'm using my Z7 here in Murano predominantly for stills, as I'm using an Insta360X3 for this video to try it out and see how it fits into my processing life cycle and my camera bag. And I'll be doing a few videos on that over the coming months with my thoughts around what's the capabilities of a 360 camera, how useful is it for travel video, and what are the stills like. So drop your thoughts in the comments below. It'd be great to hear what you're thinking and what you think I should do. And as always, it'd be great to see you in a future video.